Ever heard of the statement, go woke, go broke? Apparently, this New York Starbucks is basically experiencing that. So, a woke New York City Starbucks, now a haven for junkies, drunks, and homeless. A no-ho Starbucks is dealing with more than just a constant flow of caffeine junkies looking to get their fix. By the way, just saying, if you get Starbucks every single day, you're losing like hundreds of dollars a month. Keep that in mind. The cafe at the corner of Astor Place and Lafayette Street regularly contends with drug users, mentally disturbed people, and homeless folk looking to take a nap, the Post witnessed. Starbucks got too woke too fast, said Java joint regular Konstantin Dobryakov. Now, some customers are too scared to go in because you've got a bunch of homeless people sleeping in there. They got to be ready to kick people out and not give everyone a free cup of coffee. You give them a finger and they'll take a hand. Which, this is like a really sad statement that this person makes, right? Because it's extremely true, right? And this is also not just a problem with Starbucks, with homeless and all that stuff, right? It's also like if you've ever drove down the street in a highway or like like in an intersection kind of stuff, right? And you see someone right in the middle of the intersection or on the side of the intersection, kind of looking a little bit sketchy, with like a little cardboard thing with like Sharpie written onto it, basically begging for money. If you were to give them money, guess what's going to happen? They're going to be there the next day, and they're going to be there the next day, and they're going to be there the next day after that, right? Because they're going to keep on wanting more and more and more because they now know that in this situation, if I just stand here, I'm going to get something for free, right? Like people need to be really careful in just the generosity and how they do their generosity because sometimes being too generous can really harm yourself and the area around you. So, this past week, the Post saw homeless people nodding off, washing their hair in a public sink, and being transported to the hospital from the recently unionized Starbucks among the eye openers. So, here's some of the, complaints. No dog. So one man brought in his own box of cinnamon toast crunch, a carton of milk, and some Entenmann's mini crumb cakes before passing out face down on a table. Afterward, he rolled spliffs, as I don't even know what spliffs is, as nearby paying customers tried to enjoy their lattes and frappuccinos. A mentally disturbed man in a black trench coat talked to himself and screamed obscenities at the communal mirror near the bathrooms for 30 minutes. There's a guy over by the bathrooms making people really uncomfortable, one customer told an employee behind the counter. Two police officers, one of them carrying a riot shield, eventually removed him without incident. At least that situation got handled. That's a good thing. There's also the foul odor and garbage buildup at the location. Newspapers, food wrappers, and empty coffee cups litter the indoor patio. Nothing like the smell of BO and urine with your morning coffee, a next door user commented in response to a photo that showed snoozing squatters lying in a booth surrounded by trash, tote bags, and luggage. On Friday, EMTs were called to assist a man who had passed out on the steps, blocking an exit. He regained consciousness and entered the ambulance with the help of the paramedics. Once Manhattan's largest Starbucks, now outsized by the 23,000 square foot Starbucks Reserve and Roastery in Chelsea, the Astor Place location is a go to spot for the destitute, said Dave, a 28-year-old homeless man from Boston. And apparently, by the way, in this photo right here, is literally showing the person that brought his own milk, his cereal, him just passing out. And what looks to be a rainbow unicorn backpack by his feet, which is questionable. Let's see. So they've got phone chargers and nice couches, he said. Ever since those black guys were arrested at one in Philadelphia a few years ago, nobody really wants to touch you. Employees might come over and very quietly ask sleeping people to wake up and move on, but then those same guys go right back to sleep. The cops will only show up if someone is dangerous. Critics say it's Starbucks' own fault. Its shops have been commandeered by derelicts, drunks, and dope pushers after they make their bathrooms public and even put syringe disposal boxes in some of them. Like, how crazy do you gotta be as like a business to literally put syringe disposal boxes in your bathrooms? Okay? Like, what? They allow anybody to use their restrooms, which sounds like a good idea, but when you've got a country that uses public space as homeless shelters and mental health wards that assures having people shooting up heroin in the bathrooms and halfway moving into them, said Kevin Williamson, a political commentator. Now, here's the thing, too, right? You got to keep this in mind. Gas stations, anyone can use their bathrooms for the most part. Look at like a QT, racetrack, those types of gas stations. Anyone can go in there and use their bathrooms, right? But they don't have the same problem. Why? There could be a lot of reasons. One thing's for sure, they would not put up with any of this going on. The Java giant has taken some major blows this summer. Starbucks recently announced it would shutter 16 profitable stores, two of which are unionized across Seattle, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and Portland, Oregon, due to safety concerns, violent crime, and rampant drug use in and around the shops. Basically, where these shops are probably dealing with a very, very bad homeless situation. It has shocked me that one of the primary concerns that our retail partners have is their own personal safety. And then we heard the stories that go along with it about what happens in our bathrooms. CEO Howard Schultz said during an internal meeting that was first reported by the Post Millennial in July. We are facing things in which the stores were not built for, so we're listening to our people and closing stores. This is just the beginning. There are going to be many more. And here's the thing, I feel like as time goes on, Starbucks is going to continuously decline. Because, like, the perception of Starbucks just a few years ago, right? Like, literally not that many years ago, was that it's basically like a coffee dessert shop for middle class to slightly upper class citizens, right? Like you go there maybe on the weekend if you're like a high school student, college student, all that kind of stuff, right? Or you go there before you go start your day and you just basically enjoy a very clean, safe location to get a coffee, right? Now, also, young adults also typically went there too as well. But what I'm saying is that like it was like a place of business that almost anyone would feel comfortable going there because everything looks nice, everything looks clean, everything looks efficient in a way, right? Everyone seemed friendly. But as time went on and they got a little bit more woke and a little bit more woke and a little bit more woke, now they're facing issues because of that. Hence the whole saying, go woke, go broke, because once you start going down a certain path that does not align with the overall business's like goal of actually trying to make money, you're going to negatively impact your customers, right? Because if you focus on making good money as a business, especially the size of like Starbucks, you do everything in your power to make the customer experience the best it can be. But not only that, if you're like a franchise type of business model, which Starbucks is, you make it so that basically every single location is nearly identical in the experience. Not just the look, but the experience. Like you go to a McDonald's in Tennessee, and a McDonald's in Los Angeles, and a McDonald's in Texas, and a McDonald's in Miami. The experience should be the same, right? You know what to expect, right? It gives you a sense of basically safety, right? Because people feel more at peace and more willing to part with something if they know what to expect, right? And what I mean by this, when you go fill up your gas tank, if you got a gas car, right? You typically go to like the same gas station or the same brand of gas station. You might fill up at racetrack all the time and really only at racetrack. Like that's my example, right? Because the experience is the same. You know what to expect. You know where the energy drinks are or the coffee are or the diet cokes are. You know what kind of like treats you can get. You know what kind of like snacks you can get. You know where to get lottery tickets if you play that, right? Like you know it. Like it's all familiar to you. But when you have a company that's starting to go woke, way far woke into some locations than others as well, that's a very big issue. Because, if it'd be one thing if they started out woke and every single location was woke from the very beginning, might be a little bit different story. Might still be dealing with the homeless people, probably even to a higher degree, but it wouldn't really be affecting the business overall because the experience would have been the same. So, feel free to give your thoughts. I think Starbucks really needs to start changing some things or be very selective in who they end up doing these like franchise types of dealings with, because if they start continuously putting more and more people who like align more so to the woke crowd, it's going to really damage Starbucks bottom line and also really damage the customer experience. And who knows, maybe Starbucks will just literally cease to exist after another decade. If you want to learn how to get a debt and master your money, go to 40inbox.com or go down below and see how I was able to get a debt and grow my net worth.